And it's getting so you can't pretend. Your tears keep giving you away.
I'm sending you instructions right now.
But you're praying for a better day. Why should I go through these
See, I don't have any music.
It's playing.
But they don't see the urgency.
Let me know when to stop.
That this is an emergency, yeah. So make it hurt. Deliver the word.
Okay.
Good evening, DMC, Prince George's County. This is Wednesday, 7 p.m., and this is the County Barbershop. I'm your host, Phil Lee. With me, I'm a co-host.
Gene LeGrand.
Not there, not she.
And so, audience, every week, we're always glad to hear you. You know, the barbershop, the doors are open, and this is where you might hear anything, but we hope what you hear is the truth and that you take something from it. Tonight, let me do some housekeeping from the Vehicle Theft Prevention Council. We are still trying to reduce those numbers of stolen cars in the DMV, and only you can help to do this. The Vehicle Theft Prevention Council has given us, I guess, about 10 or 20 of the air tags that we can give away. If you look at that stream on the bottom of your screen, then get in touch with you and we will send you one of the air tags. The air tags are great for law enforcement. They can quickly recover your vehicle should it unfortunately be stolen. Also, the high-end cars, the Lexuses, the Infinities, they now seem to be at the top of the thieves list. They are somehow able to infiltrate your computer. And so what we have been told by the Vehicle Theft Prevention Council is you can get you an OBDD, about $20. It plugs right into your car, little control panel, and that will prevent that theft from happening. That's from the Vehicle Theft Prevention Council. Tonight, we believe that we need to strongly push the narrative of what is known as, what do they call it, Jim? Black what? What is it called?
Blackout.
No, I'm
Blackout.
talking about February. What do they call February, Nadine?
There's the blackout.
Black Mystery Month.
Black History Month. See, I forgot about it because I think every month ought to be Black History Month. So I don't care what they try to call it. But tonight we're
Black
going
Mystery Month.
We're going to put some emphasis on February of 2025 for Black folks, brown folks in the United States. You know, you all may not, Gene, you and Nadine may be a little too young to remember Gil Scott-Heron. Gil Scott-Heron came out with a cut some time ago when he said the revolution will not be televised. And, you know, a lot of our artists have vision. Did Gil Scott-Heron see what was going to possibly happen some 30 years later? Because the revolution, and I think that's what we see happening right before us, but it's not being televised. Audience, what am I saying to you? Tomorrow, on the 28th, Reverend Al Sharpton and a lot of those others who spearhead what we do and try to lead Black folks in the right direction, they are launching the first of a series of what's called blackouts. So this goes beyond not spending your dollars, your hard-earned dollars that this man on Pennsylvania Avenue is trying to take away from you or taken away from you. So look, let's get on board with this. We know how to do this kind of thing. So no, we're not going to burn down any stores. We're not going to vandalize any stores. This time we're going to trick them. We're not going to spend our money. in any of these stores. See, you and I know some like Gene. Gene is a millionaire. Some of these millionaires can, like Gene, they can take on people like Pennsylvania Avenue. But as other folks, we don't have that kind of money. But let me tell you this. When Target and BJ's and Walmart's and Starbucks, when they begin to start missing their piece of change, they're going to put all of their ends together and they will go after that person on Pennsylvania Avenue. And so the revolution will not be televised. And so starting the 28th, there will be a series of these nationally. Here in Prince George's County, we have already started. Gene, I was looking at something on the news this morning where this lady was in Target in Bowie, and she walked around and she said there's only 3 people in this entire store. So I'm saying to you listeners, and I know some of you sometimes are a bit slow, but let's step up and step in. You know what I mean? Let's not spend our dollars in these stores and let that man who believes in a dollar, let him understand what this is really all about. Here's what I've done, listeners, audience, people. Last night, I sent a message out to every soul in my family, even those I don't talk to. But this was a matter of urgency. As you hear the urgency, there's a need to deliver the word. I sent them all a message and I asked them to please stand up and be accountable. At least on the 28th, see how it feels to take part in a movement. Don't spend your money. Just don't spend anything. Now, some of you might realize at the end of the day, just how much money you do spend every day that you don't really have to spend. Who knows? There may be another good thing coming out of this. Okay, so tonight, as the barbershop looks at Black people, Black history, you all constantly hear us talk about Black Wall Street, Chocolate City, those times in our history that we have shown we do matter and we do make a difference. So tonight we have a special guest. Well, all of our guests are special. I don't want to alienate anybody. But we have, and I'm sure he doesn't mind being called, he's an old timer. He has seen Washington, D.C. in times when most of us could ever try to imagine. But he watched the city grow. He watched the Renaissance. He watched the beginning of the Barry administration. A lot of you young folks now, you hear about Marion Barry, Mayor for Life. Some of you, unfortunately, only remember him for his mishap. But many don't know the things that Marion Barry actually did. Now, I put a lot of emphasis on Marion Barry, as you all know, because a lot of those who live in Prince George's County today, they come from D.C. They're the old timers who lived the Marion Barry experience. And in fact, because of Marion Barry, a lot of them can afford to live out here. That's the truth. That is the truth. So tonight we're going to bring on Mr. Roach Brown. Roach is going to tell you some things you did not know, but you should know. But I also want to emphasize, Gene, Nadia, we always, it's our fault because we let these people teach our children whatever they feel like teaching them. We should have listened to Dr. Carter B. Woodson, when he told us, be careful about wanting your children to desegregate, because these white folks are going to teach your children only what they want them to know. That is a problem. Why our children today, when you mention Black History Month to them, they'll tell you about Harriet Tubman, Dr. King. Some might mention Malcolm X, but that's about now they've added Barack Obama. It's unfortunate that that's what our children know. America was built on the backs of Black people. That is the absolute truth. We don't talk about Nelson Mandela, and in today and time, we should talk about Nelson Mandela at South Africa because he's one of those who spent 27 years behind bars because of apartheid. We really need to focus on South Africa because that's where, and in case you all did not know, my clear understanding, that's where Elon Musk is from. So you got to ask yourself a question. You got a president who acts like Hitler, and you got Elon Musk who acts like de Klerk. What do you all think you really got going on here when you talk about Black history? What was Mandela in jail for? We got to think about that. I guess I'm talking about, Nadia, those who were behind the wall. Because the truth is, some of our most outstanding leaders came from behind the wall. Malcolm X. Malcolm X left prison, and he left prison a leader. He came out with a truth that lives on today if we keep listening to what he had to say. What did Malcolm tell us? Don't try to act like that white man, because if you do, he's got you, because you can never be him. Of course, there was Dr. King and his letter from the Birmingham jail. What Dr. King did that a lot of people don't think about, he proved you can lock up my body, but you cannot lock up my mind. You cannot do that. And then I will tell you this, one of my favorites was Sister Angela Davis, because Angela was that first Black woman who stood up and said, you all will not treat me this way. She appealed her criminal case. She won that case. And today, if she has not died, did Angela die yet? Maybe Roach can tell us. She went on to be a professor in California. This is the kind of thing we should be talking about to our children all year. Because if you don't know where you come from and who was there, then you won't have any idea of where to go and why. You know, let's talk, you know, I don't, you know, Roach will get into some of it, but Gene, Nadia, you know, we not only had Marion Barry, but we had Jack Johnson. Like I tell people, listen, don't ask me about Jack's personal life. That was his personal business. But if you ask me about Jack Johnson, the county executive, I will tell you he took this county forward into the 21st century. And I'll be damned if it has not moved since. It has come to a halt. They locked him up, but they didn't lock up his mind. We need to help our politicians understand these folks don't want you in a political position and a good person. They don't want that. Jimmy Carter understood that. This country could not put up with somebody that was morally correct. Take me way back to Denmark Vesey. We don't talk to our children about Denmark Vesey, but he was one of the first in South Carolina who started a revolution. This didn't just start yesterday. Black folks have been fighting this battle against white America since the beginning of time. I'm going to turn it back over to you with this, Gene. Gene, you tell us all the time, America is based on a system. And I told you all about the professor I listened to, Gene. She echoed what you said. When white folks came here and put their foot on the shores of America, they didn't find America. They found their program for Americans. They didn't program this for us. They programmed this system for them. Don't get it twisted. They didn't find America. They found a place to initiate a new system. That's what white folks did. I was surprised to find out in Europe, Gene, back then they didn't even know look at themselves as being white folks. It was just Europeans. Okay, with that being said, I know I'm going too far now. It's just that I do get excited about Black history. I believe in Black history every single month. My grandchildren and my children sometimes get tired of it, but I say, so what? You're going to hear about it. Okay, with that being said, Gene is our first guest here. Did Councilman Begay show up?
Yes.
Is she in the green room?
Yes.
Well, you know she gets frustrated with me because she don't like to be held up. Gene, let's bring the councilwoman on. I think that Roach Brown is scheduled to come on at 7:30. Apologize to the councilwoman for me because I know she was. Uh-oh, she just threw something at me.
I'm so sorry. I am functioning with a phone today because my laptop video isn't working. So I do
I understand,
apologize.
Waller. Okay, Waller, I'm not going to take up any more of your time. And Waller, I got your message before. Waller's the one who told me that the people wanted to see what I look like. She said the people needed to be treated to the way I
But
look.
we haven't been able to see you since you've been on.
See, Waller, unfortunately, this is the first night since then that I've not been able to get on because for whatever reason, Gene can't figure out how to make my camera work. So without any further delay, Waller, we were talking about Black attorneys in Prince George's County, the things that they should be doing, could be doing, or are be doing. Let's not take anything away from them. To our audience, Waller is an up-and-coming 30-year-old Black attorney.
40.
Waller, I'm trying to see if I still got it. Waller, tell us some things about your profession.
Yeah, I'm an attorney. I've actually practiced almost over, I can't believe it's been over 10 years right now. A little more than that I've been an attorney. I did want to let people know we're having a federal virtual forum on federal workers, and that is upcoming tomorrow at 6 o'clock. If you all, and I will send you all a link, if you all reach out to my office or email us at councildistrict6@co.pg.md.us. We realize many federal workers are facing layoffs, and they want to know what's going on. A lot of people are on administrative leave, not knowing what's next. We're getting news about different things every day. So the speakers will be Congressman Hoyer. Then we would actually have the attorneys from AFGE. I actually was a labor attorney for, I represented the nurses for years. So actually, while this is going on, I kind of feel like I need to jump in, put my legal hat on and start representing federal workers because I represented them for years. And I actually know the tricks of what's been happening. One of the things why they tried to get people to resign, because that's the best way, easiest way to get rid of a federal worker. If not, you got to go through a process. And they know if someone resigns, they don't have to go through that process. That's one of the reasons why they sent out that offering people to take a severance, which was not authorized. But once the person basically says, I'm leaving, that will put them out of the ability to fight. So as we've told, and that's one of the reasons we've told federal workers, do not take any type of deal. And what we found is that they offered this deal to people that they knew couldn't even take it because many of them weren't even qualified for any type of severance because any severance outline is outlined in the federal is outlined in federal code. What they can do is outlined in regulations. What they can do, what even brings a severance. There's a whole process to it, so you can't just like offer it. Um, so. So what we have, AFGE lawyers are going to talk about the lawsuits that they're filing at the federal level to protect workers. They represent over 1 million federal workers, and they are one of the many unions fighting for on behalf of workers. So we are telling people hold true, and I know it's frustrating, but just keep the faith. It's going to be. We've been through this before. They've gone after us before. In fact, they have speaking of Black history, there is a an exhibit at the Laurel Montpelier art house there in Laurel, and it is about good government jobs. That's what it's named, and it actually goes over the history of civil servants in the United States and the federal government. So it is a great historical outline of what we've done, of what our ancestors, those that came before us, did. And one thing they said is that right in the early 1900s, this happened. And this was on the brink after Reconstruction era. Black people started getting federal jobs. And then all of a sudden, they started to implement all type of policies to remove us from the federal government. And by the time they knew, they had pretty much eradicated most of the Black workers that were working in the federal government. But that did not last. As you know, we are here today. So let's keep fighting. So we're going to have the forum tomorrow. And you're going to hear from the lawyers, you're going to hear from Congressman Hoyer, and we're even talking about a job fair that we're trying to do with Employ Prince George's. I'm also working on trying to get people to sign up if they've been laid off. So if you have been laid off, reach out to my office. We are creating a registry of all people who are laid off. We have reached out to our nonprofit partners, and they've agreed to provide food, groceries, things like that to those financial support. And we are working on hosting a job fair with the county. So We want you all to sign up, and by next week, we're going to start reaching out as people are signing up now, so that we'll be able to at least reach out to people within the next week or so to start
Count, count,
organizing them to receive support. So we want people to feel supportive. Now, as a lawyer, it is lawyers are lining up. We did reach out to community legal services, and they have even offered to provide legal services for those in need. But what we want you all to know is that there are lawyers fighting on the federal level for all workers, and that is AFGE is going to give an overview of that tomorrow. So we just want people to know that help is on the way. It is frustrating to be in this position. Prince George's County has over 73,000 workers that work in the federal government, and that does not even include contractors. So it is the history that brought Prince George's County to where it is today. And there is an effort to eradicate it, and it's very frustrating.
Council, have you seen a change over the years, good or bad, since over your 10-year period in Prince George's County? And do you see a light? How do we get those federal workers positioned for the afterlife, if you want to say?
It's pretty bleak right now, but we're gonna make it through. I will tell you all this: this area, people have moved to it simply because of the federal government. So it is the industry that has built us, that has built this county, that's built the uniqueness of having the most affluent African American community in the country. So we are trying to figure out. Now there has been a push for entrepreneurship, and I know that's going to ramp up. That's one of the things we talked about now, where you have different streams, so people are not falling through. We don't want to go back to the recession of the recession time in 2010, where we were having a mass number of foreclosures, because you really don't realize people are one or two paychecks away from poverty. As we mentioned, and when I came on before, many people are not living. The difference between some in the white communities and African American communities is that some of those people, look at the Elon Musk and Trump. There is, their success, whether you call it a success or not, has a lot to do with their families and the money that their families have, meaning they have opportunity to fail. We don't have opportunity to fail. In a lot
How,
of our communities, we don't have a lot of saved income. We don't have a lot of savings overall. We don't have a lot of money to just give to somebody to invest. So I was at a conference on Sunday, and we were talking about how do we build VCs in our community where we can start to actually just invest in each other business. So if something like this happen, we don't all go under. And so we just have to pivot. And
do you see?
that's really the really concern.
Go ahead, Nadia.
Hmm.
I have a question. How you doing, Councilwoman?
How are you?
So with all of the people that are being laid off, of course, they still have those valuable skills. As you
Hmm.
were speaking, I just thought about perhaps setting up some type of app or website where, and I'm just thinking, and of course, it has to be able to handle the capacity of the people that's being laid off, but they can present their skills and find other pathways to join other businesses that could utilize those skills. Is that something that anyone has thought of?
Well, actually, I mean, that's sort of what we are using Employ Prince George's for. That's kind of the thing that we wanted them to do, is prepare for times like this where they would have all types of ways that people can pivot. That is where some of our agencies are supposed to jump in, like our EDC, Economic Development Corporation. These people are supposed to actually help someone when they get to that point to say, okay, here's how you can what's your skill assessment, and let's see how we can retool. A lot, again, like I said before, some of this has to do with coming a new county executive. We did meet with Employ Prince George's on Monday, and I did tell them and made it clear that we needed some creative options at this point.
Well,
These things are out there, but it needs to be utilized, and then we need to
Right.
use our federal dollars. We got about really $9 to $10 million that have been put into Employ Prince George's. Of course, some of those are moving out, but what we have asked Walter Simmons, and we've received awards for our workforce development, is what are we doing to retool people to be able to creatively transition? And now we've been doing that with older people. One of the biggest issues we've had in Prince George's County, the two groups that have the highest unemployment rate are the youngest ones, the ones before 20, and the oldest. That has been traditionally where we've had the big gap. Um, and a big gap is about, for somebody who is in those early ages, what could we do? Because they are prompted to work. So at this point, what is the issue about getting them into the system of like working or use or getting skills, things like that? So we were working with that, and then our older generation is really where we see the biggest problems, where a lot of times as we've moved into a tech world, some of them have had a difficulty kind of learning how to function in that, and then they have a difficulty in applying for jobs. And because now most job applications are no longer, there's no paper applications, it's all online. And a lot of jobs require some sort of technical knowledge, which they don't have. So they've had a very difficult time getting employed.
Well,
Now, topping over that is the federal workers, which do also have skills, and they're very similar to our older workers. A lot of our older workers worked in the federal government for many years, especially the older generation. We might have ventured out, but the older generation were mostly federal workers.
I have another concern. Of course, gaining employment is important, but I guess because as a former community representative who dealt with people at the ground level, while I am extremely concerned about the mental health of these people who are going to be losing their livelihoods.
Right.
You have mothers who will lose their health insurance. You have young people who just bought houses or 5 years in, and both parents work for federal government.
Hmm.
The mental health fallout, while it could be more than anybody is really ready for. It is hard to apply for a job when your children are at home hungry. For some of them, they will be able to get employment, but at a fraction of what they made after working in the government 15, 20 years. What mentally are we thinking about, or should we be thinking about doing to come to the rescue of these people? And as a people, we often have a difficult time with mental health issues, mental health help. But people are going to be able to look for jobs, get jobs. But while they are looking, the pain that they will go through mentally, I don't think we're ready for that.
So we have a list, and we're got a list of people who have actually just been laid off. And in my district, I'm limited, and we've reached out to some of our nonprofit partners, and we actually are waiting for them to respond. One of them, in particular, does provide mental health support, and that's what we're waiting on, is mental health support from our nonprofits. So that is definitely at the top of the list, in addition to financial resources, is being able to see someone, because the reality is that. But the bigger thing I would say is that while they're getting mental health support, we really have to get them into another job, because to a certain extent, even if your head could be right for a minute, if you can't pay your bills, I
Yeah,
mean, you really just can't. The stress is only going to increase no matter how much counseling that you experience. I mean, if you
There
can't pay your
is
bills, if you're facing foreclosure, if you are unable to really afford food, and the worst part is that we're dealing with this in the middle of utility bills rising, in the middle of groceries increasing. So it is like, I mean, some people will lose it, and we do believe that we do need to. So we did send a call out to our nonprofit partners, and they are both, and a lot of them are responding back with their offers, so that when we go to when we reach out to everyone, we will have a list of organizations that they can reach out to for support,
well,
and they can make
well,
their.
so we don't run out of time. I know Gene wants to say something.
right.
One of the biggest problems in Prince George's County is the avenue of communication. And so what we on the barbershop will commit to you is that we will be that network for you to utilize whenever you want to get this kind of information out to our people. If you want people to know they got something they want to hear you say, I know town hall meetings and those meetings are good, but usually all of those are the same group of people, you know that. So if you want to let people know that you've got some information you want to share, they can always tune in here on Wednesday. We'll make sure to make room for you to come on and let people know what it is that's available. If we don't have a bridge, an avenue of communications, we can want to do all the things we want to do, but if nobody knows we're doing them, then we really haven't done nothing. Go ahead, Gene.
So really quick, we got a short period of time before we let Roach on, but are the districts, they're not working together and to be able to create a list like this so that we can plug those unemployed into positions? And do we get favor from these companies, and especially Black businesses, who are willing to play the game where, okay, somebody's unemployed, let's plug them into our system where we can keep the motion of this going?
Well, that's again, that goes back to Employ Prince George's. We have a whole agency that is focused on this, and their whole job is supposed to be able to create job fairs to connect those who are looking for jobs. Hopefully, they will be connected with our employers so that those employers will go to our workforce, our workforce arm to say, hey, we're looking for residents to hire. So we are really depending on them to do that, and that's why we met with Walter Simmons asking for a job fair in the next couple weeks.
Maybe Wally, you can bring Walter on and share some of that information. Again, I had this problem before. A lot of good things that go on, but nobody knows that they're happening because we don't
we put the information out. We have around 500 people signed up for tomorrow's town hall, and we do have a handful of people who let us know. About 60 people have let us know they've been laid off. So we're putting it out there. We've been on TV today. So we're asking people to reach out to our office.
Anything that we can do, Waller,
Thank you.
any time that you want. Because if we're going to get through this, we're going to have to be able to communicate with everybody. As you talked about the senior citizens, the older citizens. Now, I'm not there yet, but I'm getting there. But while everybody doesn't look at Facebook and My Place and all those other things, and so they need to just put a face with a voice, and you come across very sincere. A lot of times, that's all people need to see, is that somebody really cares. Wow. She looks like she cares. So anything we can do, Waller, you pick the phone up and let us know you need the time, and we will make that happen. Okay?
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Yeah, we don't want to let you go, but we have to. And the dear said, Waller, she talks, maybe. Yes, she does. But Waller,
man, don't put that on me.
Waller, let us get back. Waller, if you have time, stand by and listen to Roach Brown. Roach.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I gotta go actually. So is there anything else? I have to leave, but I can come back later, but I do have to run.
Thank you.
We understand. We understand.
Are you from DC?
I am from DC.
Waller, it's something about us. Mm-hmm. See, Gene and Nadir, they don't understand it. They come from out here in Prince George's County, but something about us folks in hell from DC. Something got into us when we was at water over there. They got into us, Waller, but we bring something brand new to the table every time.
Hey, Chief, my social security number start with 578.
Mine started with
577.
That's right. But that don't mean just because you lived out here, you went to DC where you could get a social security card, because they probably wouldn't give y'all one out here. Waller, thanks for being here.
All right.
Okay, Gene.
Thank you.
Well,
Mr. Roach Brown. Roach,
yes,
has been on a long time. Roach, when I was talking about the Black history and those people who made a difference, I saved this one for you, Roach. I just finished reading a book about Brother Petey Green. Roach, when I read that book, it helped me because I was able to say to my sons who never believe me when I tell them where I came from and how we live. They just find it hard to believe. Now, even though, Roach, you and Petey Green were probably 30 years ahead of me, we all came up, Roach, with the same kind of living. We didn't know we was poor, and it did not make a difference.
That's right.
We didn't know that everybody's shoes didn't have a piece of cardboard in them. We thought that's the way it was, right? So for the audience, this is Roach Brown. Roach is a radio commentator. Roach, a lot of other things. Roach is on WPFD 89.3. WPFW every Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock. Roach talks all the time about what we now call returning citizens. Roach, we've come a long way, haven't we? We used to call them ex-convicts. Now we call them returning citizens, but Roach is a wealth of information. But Roach is on tonight because Roach, Petey Green, and so many others, for me, they were the old heads on the corner. And the old heads on the corner back then would tell you, boy, you ain't got no business being out here. You need to go home. It was a different time, but Roach, look at where we are today. Ladies and gentlemen, Roach Brown. Go ahead, Roach.
Thank you. Thank you for joining me. And I like the name, the official barbershop. I grew up in a barbershop. That was our headquarters, man. Where you went and copped all the hot merchandise.
Yeah, right.
When all the things they come to the barbershop, everybody know you get there between 5 and 7. You can buy TVs, watches, radio, shoes.
Exactly.
And, you know, latest news on who's doing what and that stuff. So the barbershop was our Central Park, man. It was central headquarters.
Yeah, you can get a chess game going too.
Man, and you know what? Now I don't go to the barbershop as much as I used to. But I go once a week just to get the feel of the clippers on my head. But that's it, man. The barbershop is my idea, man. And it's thank you all for inviting me. I grew up in Washington, D.C. And first of all, Merry Christmas to all of you, man. Merry, I get cursed out every week for years just for saying Merry Christmas in the middle of the summer. Say that again.
You got to tell them the story behind you and Merry Christmas.
I was in the University of the Department of Corrections, serving life. You know what I mean? And I did some stuff inside there and got in some trouble. And they beat me up real bad. The guards did, and bust my lip open, split my head open, and they sent me. Then I was paralyzed and placed in solitary for 8 months, man, without no medication or nothing. Then they took me out of solitary and sent me to the crazy house, where I stayed there for 3 years. Then they gave me a couple of shark treatments. And man, it was like when you think you hit the bottom, that's only the first floor, man, because there's a bottom beneath the bottom, and there's a bottom beneath that bottom. Then it opens to the Grand Canyon. Then there's some more bottoms you got to fall through. So I don't care how low you think you can go, Jack, there's always a place lower, but there's a place up. If you look up and move your head up. So when they put me in solitary and I came out, I started writing the words, Christmas in Prison. I wrote that, made that into a play, a poem. Then I took the poem and made it into a play. And I had the guys inside of Lawton to perform the play. And the word got out about this prison play in Lawton. And the warden allowed us out to come in the community and perform this play all over D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. Richard Pryor came into the prison, took us out to the Apollo Theater, and we performed at the Apollo Theater, went on a national tour from prison. And all of us serving life, 40, 50 years, and nobody ever escaped, man.
Roach, I want to interject just a second, because remember, a lot of our listeners, well, Roach, while a lot of them are from D.C., we got a lot of young folks who don't know what Lawton was. And the emphasis I put on Lawton, I want people to understand, Lawton Reformatory was for those who were convicted and sentenced in D.C. And you got to ask yourself, how in the hell did they fill up a whole prison with people only from one small city? But,
right.
Give us some thought, Roach. See, in the state, you got several.
I gave it thought. I was there.
You got a lot of different state facilities, but D.C. is smaller than all of them.
Yes, it is.
But they filled up an entire institution with Black people from that one city. Go ahead, Roach. I just wanted people to know what Lawton was and what it was all about.
Okay, so we came out and was with Richard Pryor, and as a result of what we did with the group called the Inner Voices, And a lot of people heard the name, they thought it meant voices from inside speaking. It didn't mean that. Inner voice means getting in touch with the inner you, getting rid of all the negative, all of the garbage inside of you, find out how rotten you are, how lostness. When you find out all your little secrets, it's like pulling them off the shelf, and you face them and you can't run. That's called getting in touch with your inner voice. And we got in touch with our inner voice. Could nothing stop it. He told me I was never coming home. I had life. I was going to die in prison. In fact, they put us in a dormitory. Everybody in this dormitory was scheduled to die. It was one dormitory. Everybody had life, 200, 300, 500, 1,000 years or whatever. And I was the youngest guy in this whole dormitory. We were in the living dead man's dormitory. It didn't make no difference. I get up in the morning hollering, singing, smiling. I didn't care a damn thing about them. You know what I mean? So we got into a situation where they was calling us. It was doing segregation, man. They would call you the N-word to your face, spit in your face. You couldn't look the white guards into the eyes. Even in the street, we had to get off the sidewalk and step into the curb. This is like in the early 50s, man. They can come in your house. Wasn't no search warrant or search and seizure. They can knock your door down. They knock your door down and come in and take everybody out anytime they want and keep you. Was no black judges. It was one black police officer, and he could only lock up black people. He could not lock up or arrest white citizens. So this was a climate. So we got tired of it and had a riot in Lawton. Said, we ain't putting up with this no more. We're human beings, man. And the guards went outside and came back in with baseball bats and pick handles. And they beat us for 3 solid days. This was like 8 years before Attica. And they beat us, man, I never had a 3-day ass whipping in my life. Every 8 hours, they would come in and just wear you out, man. And you had enough. And the sad part about all that was a brother. They would beat me, and I look up, and the white officer would say, man, stop. He had enough. And I said, come on, brother. He said, I ain't your brother. I'm a correction officer. And he kept on beating me. And that hurt. His words hurt more than the blows, man, that he was, you know. So that was it. And I've been out for a while. I work with Marion Barrett. We helped get the ex-convicts registered.
Roach, I'll interrupt again because I don't want you to miss the story. Roach, some people think Marion Barrett was always the man. But there was Walter Washington before him, Walter Washington was a good person, but he wasn't nothing like Marion Barrett.
No.
Roach, you took part in that. You worked with Marion Barrett on that. Tell us about that.
Well, Marion and I were real good friends, man. I knew him when he was working at Pride before he got into the government. And he was a militant back there and wearing dashikis, man. And the brother wasn't afraid to stand up to the man. And when somebody stand up to the man, you kind of look up to him, man. So when he got locked up, he went to prison. Before he went to prison, he ran against Mayor Washington. We organized the ex-offender voting block. We got all of the guys with criminal records registered to vote, and they turn out in mass to get Marion elected back to the office when he came out of prison. As a result of that, he made me a special assistant and gave me the responsibility of creating the Office of Returning Citizens. It's now called MORCA, the Mayor's Office of Returning Citizens. When I had it, was called the Director Office of Ex-Offender Affairs. Marion, when I worked with Marion was so progressive, he put 2 ex-convicts on the parole board. He was trying to get conjugal visits for the inmates inside. He was just a regular old street guy. Sure, he had some problems. Who don't? You know what I mean?
He was smart, Roach. He was a smart man.
Yeah.
Hey, Roach, can I ask you a question?
Come on.
I'm very intrigued by your history lessons. Now, Lawton may have seemed far away for many people back then that didn't really get up out of the city.
Mm-hmm.
But now they sending people all over the country. Case in point, I did over a decade. I did like 4 or 5 years out in Louisiana. So a visit was out of question.
Yeah.
I didn't start getting visits until I came back to Fort Dix, which was
in Jersey. Yeah. Okay. What's your name, man?
Nadir.
Okay.
But I wanted to ask you, do you think it's harder for returning citizens to adjust today than it was back then? And I say that because although we have more opportunities, we also have so many things that prevent us from taking advantage of those opportunities.
Yes. You're right. So go ahead. You finish?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So what does he want me to answer?
Do you think it's harder for returning
Yes, I got
citizens
you. I got you.
today than it was back then?
You know, I do a radio show every Tuesday, and yesterday on our radio show we talked about this same thing with a guy named Carlisle Holder. He used to be a warden for 12 years in the feds. Now, for the last 20 years, he's been working with a group called CORE to help get returning citizens back on track. He wrote a book, "Do Anything Good Come from Prison?" Excuse me. And the guy was a former warden, but he's a down-to-earth dude. And we talked about what need to be done to assist returning citizens coming out. Let me just say this. When I came out back in the 50s and the 60s, when you came out on Lawton from the prison, you got 3 pair of socks, 3 pair of underwears. You got a pair of what they call the jailhouse shoes and a suit that the dudes made in the tailor shop. And you got 30 days worth of medicine and $20. Now you come out of prison, you don't get a damn pair of socks, drawers, underwear, nothing. No change of clothes, no medication, no nothing. You don't get no assistance. We met last Wednesday with the chairman of the city council, man, about emergency help. I got a cousin just did 50 years. I got friends, his co-defendant, he did 50. And they came out, they don't know how to cross the street. I gave the guy $100. I told the guy, I said, man, why didn't you call me? You've been out for 2 hours. He said he walked and he couldn't find a phone booth. You know,
no more phone booths.
I just talked to a brother yesterday. He got a 60-year sentence. He been in 15 years. He's applying himself, but he said, he was like, Nadir, the inmates are changing.
Yes.
You can't even find somebody that can give you a structured conversation in here.
Yes.
You got these youngins that's running wild, and then a lot of them, they on these pills and drugs. So it's like you just in here by yourself if you somebody that's trying to do something when you get out. And I recognize that when I went back in 2000. I went back in 2011, and I was like, you know what? This right here never make me come back because I can't even get a decent conversation from these people.
That's right.
There was nobody to tell me, sit down, let me talk to you and teach you something. So that's why I asked that question, because a lot of them coming out today, they coming out lost.
That's right. They're going in lost and coming out lost, sir.
Roach, I want to say to you, that is transition from those inside the walls to those outside the walls. I said to you all in my opening, and Roach and I grew up close in the same neighborhoods. When I was 10, 11, 12 years old, maybe if the old heads saw you out at late at night, they grab a hold of you and kick you in the butt and send you home. If they saw you doing something that they knew was going to get you hung up, they stepped in and did something about it. Now, they the same crew that stood on the corner. You know, Roach, old heads are always on the corner. But they looked out for the young boys. They always had, you know, Roach, I talked to, we talked before about Bootney Yates. Bootney was hard as rocks.
Yeah.
But Bootney would take 2 minutes to tell you, boy, you need to take your ass home before you get into trouble out here.
Yeah.
It's the same thing out here that's inside. And what we, Roach, are trying to do with the barbershop and the different programs we're trying to create, we got to find a way to bring about an answer to this problem. Because otherwise, our those who are young now, Nadir, they're going to be old and trying to get out 20 years from now. Because you have a hard time talking to them. And let me tell you, I know. I mean, I had my youth program for almost 23 years. Roach, you had my good friend, the state's attorney, on yesterday. She and I did a lot of things trying to get through to the young people, but it is hard to do. You know, Roach, when we were young, we were angry, but we were angry at the system.
It ain't hard to do. It ain't hard to do.
Go ahead, Roach.
It ain't hard to do. We did a video with a group called the Alliance of Concerned Men who went over to Simple City in Washington, D.C. and worked out a peace treaty with some of the most dangerous youngsters in that city. That's when they executed a 12-year-old boy named Darrell Hall. And You got 4 peace treaties, and got one of the guys got shot, and the shooter and the shootee were brought together. And the guy's father was in prison serving life, the shooter's father, and he got in touch with, the shootee, and said, "Man, don't retaliate." And they negotiated a peace treaty from prison to the street. I'm with a group called OGLs, Optimistic Gentlemen. We get guys who did 30, 40, 50 years in prison. They done it all. And some of these youngsters out there right now, they need this. We got the resources, but we don't have the horses. We got guys who've done it, can do it, willing to go and participate. Let me just stop and cut the juggy boogie out. Man, we all know what the bottom line is. Jobs reduce crime. Economics, man, housing, employment, jobs, social services. That'll bring down crime. All this stuff about another study, man, that's juggy boogie. Damn a study. We need to get down. You know,
Right.
Roach.
Yeah, you from DC, you was in the Feds,
Roach got a
right?
question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in the Feds.
Okay, the question is this, Nadir. When a guy come in the Feds, he from DC, you may be in Oklahoma or Texas, and the word get out that a guy named Nadir is coming in from DC. When you get to that prison, you got a bag of goodies. You got a whole bunch of guys surrounding you. Say, man, we walk over here, we eat over here, we meet over here. And if you have any trouble, you got 30, 40 guys that'll go down. It doesn't matter if it's right or wrong. You got 30, 40 warriors there with you. That
Absolutely.
same unity need to be transplanted out here. Well, we can get together in prison, but we can't get together out there. And they hurt us more out here than they did to us in there.
You're absolutely right.
That always so Roach, and I'm always saying to people, you know, we wait until we get locked up, and there we find Jesus. We go to school, we get all kinds of diplomas and certificates, but we out here, we just cannot find a way to get our young people to do these things. I got a young boy right now who we got him out of jail. He's in our program, and he sent me a copy of his GED today. Happy as a lark. He is happy as somebody we would have seen walk across the stage when he was 16, 17 years old. And I'm pleased and proud of him. But there's a hurt in my heart because I cannot understand why he did not do this 4 or 5 years ago before he got locked up.
It wasn't time, man. Things happen when it's time.
Well, and Roach, I guess I've learned to believe that, but Roach, I think we're running out of time.
Well, I tell you what, Phil, I got guys who are ready to come over to PG County, roll up their sleeves, take off their sneaker shoes, and throw the socks in the trash can and get to walking down the street and do whatever they got to do to reach people. But the problem is they can't even get bus fare or cab fare, Uber fare. They get over there. Then they can't get back. Then when they get back, I took my grandbaby to McDonald's, me and my wife. We spent $30 in McDonald's, man. $30. I told the lady, I ain't trying to buy the joint. I just want something to eat.
That's funny. That's funny, bro. Because I just took my grandkids and spent $30 on just them. I ain't even eat. Just them too, $31.
Well,
Roach, Roach, I got a question for you. So I got a theory that basically when inmates come home, they are looking for a job and they can't find a job.
Yeah.
We need to pipeline them to a training service or system that gears them up for being business owners.
That's good. I meet every week, man, with a group of guys called Let's All Get Involved with the owners of Ben's Chili Bowl and a couple more businesses. And we meet every Tuesday. It's called Let's All Get Involved. And we're trying to coordinate 30, 40, 50 nonprofit groups to provide a range of services to see what we can do to stop the violence and crime. I had about 15 guys come to me, and we went to the police station. And they said they're willing to turn in their guns for a job. And the cops told we got to run a background check on all the weapons. And if any of them come back hot.
Well, if they're business owners, you ain't got to do that.
Huh?
If they're business owners, then you don't have to do all that.
Yeah, but that's what these youngsters want to do. They wanted a job, man. Jobs will help reduce the crime. It don't take no science for it. If somebody working 8 hours a day, ain't got time to be hanging on the corner, running.
We need to find what their skills are and then match up their skills and create businesses behind them.
Well, we tried that. Guess what the problem is? They're unemployable. You got a guy being in prison for 50 years or 30 years. He don't know nothing about work. He don't know
Yeah, but
work.
we can skip trying to get a job. We can have them create their own business around that.
There you go. There you go.
Coach, one of the things
There you go, man. I'm with you.
one of the things we want to do, and the other part of what we do, and Roach, you and I have talked about this before. We kind of got sidetracked, but we need to be here. And I've asked Nadir if he would look at going inside. And Roach, and you and I need to talk more, because those in DC, they're all over the place. We can't help them until they come home. Out here with we have state facilities, Roach, we're trying to actually enhance what the state's attorney is doing. Because what we realize is, when our people come home, yeah, they want a place to sleep, and yes, they want a roof over their head, and yes, they want a job, but a lot of them don't know what to do with the money when they get it. A lot of them don't know how to go. Go ahead, Roach.
Phil, I got a program that we talked. I mentioned this to you called Offend Anonymous. When I made the statement about the guy making the phone, looking for a phone booth, these guys don't know how to talk to a woman. They don't know how to open up a car. They don't know how to do nothing, man. Guys been like it without 50 years, and he had a woman. He never talked to a woman in 50 years, and he's walk up to a chick. I said, man, don't you need some sex? He said, man, I ain't had time to think about that. So he go talk. I said, go talk to the girl right there. He said, hey, baby, what's your sign? What's your sign, baby? And she said, where you been at? They don't even know how to communicate, man.
What we need to do, we need to get a hold of them. And what I've asked Nadir to do is find a way to meet them when they come out that door. Take them by the arm and let's say, man, let's go and learn some things. Because that car you getting ready to get into, you don't even know how to open the door. We don't use keys no more.
I got a program to address all that, Phil. We just say flush it out.
And we have to stop before they come home.
Well, we definitely need to flush out this. Yeah.
Roach, you know what? I'm a close with this. I took one of the guys, man, who did 50 years. He got in my car and he told me, he said, man, I said, man, put the seatbelt on. He said, what's a seatbelt?
Yeah.
So I showed him what the seatbelt was and showed him how to connect it. I looked back, he got it all around his neck. He going to hang from the ceiling of the car. You know.
Before we run out of time, Roach, and of course, there's so much, Roach, you are a walking history book, because I wanted to hear more about the things, you talked about pride, and those out here, Roach, they don't know what you was talking about. Marion Barry, the United Planning Organization. Petey Green, that was my first job he got. That key came out of Lawton with that job. There's so many things, Roach, that you all did in DC that did make a difference. Roach, look at yourself. You got to look in the mirror, Roach. There are things you all did coming out of DC that the people out here in Prince George's County, Roach, they just don't understand it. They don't.
We're helping out, Phil. We're helping out, man. I mean, I live here. We're helping out, man. And this is all I've been doing for 51 years, man. I don't know nothing else to do.
Well, we definitely need to talk so we can connect those dots.
Huh?
I said we definitely need to talk further so we can connect those dots. Getting those guys and starting businesses and getting skills and ramping that up.
I got a program to create 5,000 jobs. 5,000 jobs. And I talked to the city council chairman about it. Man, I'm tired of dealing with these jokers. You know what I mean? I worked as a special assistant in the mayor's office. I've been in the government. I know how them turkeys play. And I'm tired. At my age, I just want to see results. I don't want no static. I don't want no drama. I don't want no jiggy boogie. I just want to see it happen, to say some lies.
My hope, Roach, is that with our new county executive, and we are prayerful that Aisha will be elected. I know where her heart is. Unfortunately, we're going to be looking at these budget restraints, this federal initiative against Black folks. We got some hard times coming, but I heard one minister say it yesterday, and I'm all on board with it. As Black people, we've seen hard times before, and we, in fact, have overcome. So we will find a way to get some things done, because for one, We got to stop our children from going to prison. It has got to stop. Listen, my engineer,
Thank you.
the engineer is telling me, Roach, that we're out of time. Roach, we'd like to bring you back so you can tell us about how you saw DC transition to Chocolate City.
As soon as we asked the warden got to get his okay.
I will make it happen, Roach.
Ain't that right, Nadir? Nadir, keep the count messed up with you, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely, I will.
So for my audience, tonight we've had a great show. Our Black history was about those of us who are still here, still breathing, and still making a difference. That is what we have to do. So for Roach, Merry Christmas to you, my brother.
Thank you.
And to my co-sponsors,
Gene LeGrand.
We've had a good show tonight, but we're going to do Black History every month. We're going to keep pushing this initiative. We are going to continue to push our project of This Side of the Wall. Our families need help. We just heard it from Roach. That guy that's coming out of prison needs somebody to show him how to open a car door. And that may sound real crazy to a lot of you, but to them, it's a scary, scary thing. Just imagine somebody walking around looking for a phone booth.
Let me share this before you got a minute. That same guy. If I can share this one little story.
Go ahead.
This one guy took him to the bathroom, and we had the department store. I said, "Go on and use that." He said, "That's a sale." I said, "Man, it's a stall. They call it a stall out here." He said, "But that's a sale." I said, "Go on in there." He went up in there, and after 2-3 minutes, bang! He knocked the stall down, and the other two breaking up, pulling his pants up. I said, "What happened, man?" He said, "The damn thing flushed off by itself." I didn't know I was finished. And he tore the bathroom up getting out of there.
Great. So with us
We got a job to work. We got some work to do, man.
Yes, sir, we do. We definitely do.
7 o'clock, the doors of the barbershop will be open.
Okay.
This is Phil Lee bidding all of you a good night. Thanks for being with us.
Appreciate your time, man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.